Good morning. Welcome to the second last reading of the tertiary world. Today I read two further accounts of memories that arose as I walked down Faraday Street in 2008. Faraday Street being the seventh of 7 east-west streets that, together with 7 north-south streets, made up a grid inside which I lived most of my life, and consequently built a memory body which I attempted to retrieve fragments of it as I walked down each street in 2008. Faraday Street's colour is violet. This is the third memory. It's yellow, the corner of Dorrit and Faraday. There's a small 2-story building on this corner where Genevieve's, the cafe in which I bought my first ever coffee, was once located. Its doors and windows are now boarded up, and the entire building is being turned, it seems, into apartments. I haven't bothered to read the public notice covering the front window, but it appears that way. It was the first cafe in which I ever arranged to meet someone. On rainy days when I felt defeated during my first year at university, I would go into hiding and have lunch in there. Genevieve was the name of the car that featured as a principal character in a 50s film. I would look out from the window and wonder why anyone would name a cafe after a car. Indeed, why anyone would anthropomorphize a car. Later, when returning from trips far away, I would glance in its direction, never entering, of course, because the coffee was no longer well made and the air inside had become worn and dusty. And I was always encouraged by its obstinate presence, as though it somehow confirmed everything that was sound and changeless about Melbourne, about Australia. People sitting in there, I kept observing as I walked past, would always have a dreamy look on their faces, as though once they'd entered Genevieve's, time was precluded from passing through their lives, as it kept doing for the rest of us. In the last few years, the distant links with its original name have faded, and all that remains is the name itself, more dislocated and more quaintly humorous than ever. I can still see the car's red metal silhouette located above the entrance. In the mid-60s, entering under it somehow created a feeling of connectedness with the outside world, filling the indescribable and nameless void with a temporary illusion of its acknowledgement. This, in tough times, was enough. Now I wonder in amazement at how desperately isolated we must have felt to hold on so desperately to this slightest of connections, to faraway events, tinged ever so faintly with the blush of a global culture. But we knew that this could never be enough. That's why at the first sign of the budding of an authentic local species of cultural fauna, this strange little corner cafe was totally abandoned and lived its last few years on the margins, with only 3 or 4 customers in there at any one time. Still, as I walked past it last night and even brushed my hand over the corrugated iron nailed over the window frames, I couldn't help but wish that I'd taken the opportunity to have one last coffee in there, no matter how bitter or tasteless. One last chance to take in the silhouette of the red metal car above the door. One last view from the chair I used to sit in. One last chance to turn my face away from the glare of the street reflected on the tabletop in front of me. The 6th memory, its colour is indigo. It's the Carlton movie house. always go and find a seat upstairs in the stalls. Not many people there. You could sprawl over 2 or more chairs and be comfortable without disturbing anyone. I've been thinking of what films I might have seen of note there, but I can't think of a single one. I can remember, though, an evening when someone I'd been thinking quite a lot about suddenly appeared to emerge from the throng right in front of me, waiting in the queue to get in. I could almost touch her, but I stopped myself from saying anything, preferring to wait patiently until I could catch her eye. But after speaking to someone, I turned to find she had disappeared. For some reason, that evening has remained affixed firmly in my memory. It was certainly summertime, because I remember a warm breeze. I also remember being completely distracted throughout the movie, castigating myself for not having had the courage to go up to her and say hello. So convinced was I that we would catch each other's eye. I kept peering into the darkness, wondering how I could find her again. After we all came tumbling out of the cinema, I walked along Lygon Street 2 or 3 times, casually peering into bars and cafes, hoping to get a glimpse of her. I never saw her again, nor have I ever heard anyone mention her name. But if that evening she had said, "Follow me," I would have, anywhere. In some people's lives, this kind of moments happen. At times I even consider that it might have all been a dream. Did she really stand so close to me in a queue? But in the end, it doesn't matter, does it? Even if each time I have walked past the Carlton movie house, I have inevitably remembered her, the way she stood just there, just within reach, and was then gone forever. Should I have walked up to her, said something to her, even simply have said hello? I can never decide whether this was a missed turning point in my life or whether it was simply the way things had to be. The irrefutable thing is that it's simply and undeniably the way things unfolded. There's a sweetness to that, a sweetness to the melancholy background hum that still now emanates from the empty space she filled that evening. Her back to me, her brown arms holding something close to her that can never be known to me or ever revealed. I'm staying at my daughter's house in Torquay, and the wind streaming in from the ocean and the rain clouds is bitterly cold. And of course, recounting that story and reliving those moments makes me shake as well. I don't know if it's the wind or the story. Until tomorrow for the last 2 memories.